Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to the Inspired Conversations radio show. I'm your host, Linda Joy, publisher of Aspire magazine and the publisher at InspiredLivingPublishing.com, the boutique publishing company for visionary women with an empowering message to share. All of my brands, including this show, are dedicated to inspiring women to live from the inside out, right? To live deeper, more authentic, and joy-filled lives. So welcome to today's show. Joining me today is Dr. Kimberly McGeorge, an accomplished naturopath, energy healer, and 16-year frequency medicine expert. Dr. Kimberly has over 26 years of clinical experience in both the alternative health and the energy healing fields. She's worked on thousands of clients in person and remotely around the world. A popular teacher and lecturer, Dr. Kimberly does very limited private consultations every year. Dr. Kimberly has overcome relationship, health, and financial challenges as a single mother of 4 young girls. She sought healing and hope, often exhausting all resources with no results. She then decided to find real-world answers for health, relationship, and financial concerns for herself and her clients. Often referred to as the healer's healer, she has a client list of some of the world's most talented healers. She's able to remove blocks and rebalance energy for them and for you in any area of your life. Her current program, Frequency Master, teaches you how to master frequencies in your own life and trains other healers to use her unique and successful methods also. We're going to be talking a lot about frequencies and energy today. It's something I really believe in, so welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Linda.
Well, I am so glad to have you here today and talk about some of the things that you do because I find it so interesting, and I believe personally that in energy and what we put out is what we attract. And I'm curious what you mean by frequencies and energies. But let's start with your own journey. Like, how did you get to be doing this work in the world?
Oh, gosh, it's so funny. Kind of like you know, you've done something for a while, and it's kind of cool to be asked that question and to reflect on how you got to where you are today. And mine was really, as most of ours, or a lot of ours are, not most necessarily, but it was through tragedy. It was through brokenness. It was through no relationships ever worked. It was through really horrific negative health experience. It was through money crisis that I really turned to both the alternative health and then a different way of being, you know, spiritually and mentally and emotionally, because how I was being, Linda, wasn't working. My whole life was not working. But I looked around and some people's lives were working. So I'm like, there is a secret that some people know. I just have no idea what it was. So really it started with a question. You know, what are the people that are happy and joyful and successful in all areas of their life? What do they know that I don't know? That's kind of what started it all.
Isn't it funny because so many of the guests I'm finding, including myself actually, our mess became our message, right? Our own healing led us to the soul work that we're doing now. And to me, I find that so powerful because it comes from a desire to serve and it comes from experience of what works.
I love that. I also think that when you've experienced it and overcome in whatever way that you have, you are what I call living proof. You know, you're living proof that whatever your message is, you know, however you're expressing it, that is authentic, which I know you're huge into too. You know, you so have an authentic brand and you bring in authentic people and you have an authentic team. And I think that's missing in every industry, in almost every area of life. And I think if you can just begin with that, this is who I am, and I haven't figured it all out, and I don't know all the answers, but, this is me, and this is real, and I'm going to share my struggles, and I'm going to, share the secrets, and I'm going to share my victories, and we're going to walk this journey together. Come alongside me, not in front of me, not behind me. Don't put me on a pedestal, but come alongside me, and let's discover the rest together. I think that energy is really unique and missing, and that's what I found in your brand that I love so much. Totally, you have that energy in your brand.
Well, I think it's, as you just shared, first off, thank you for that for seeing my heart and soul, because I think that I know I pour it into everything that I do, but for also seeing that so many women in personal and spiritual development, the ones that are on the path searching for answers, right? They can only connect and be served by women who are showing up authentically, leaders that are showing up authentically, because I believe that our soul vibration will lead them to the healers, the coaches, the consultants that they're a match for. But that will only happen when people stop hiding behind masks or putting themselves on pedestals and all of that. It's just show up and be you. Share your unique gifts with the world. Stop worrying about what everyone else is doing. And from that place, is when magic happens for your clients, but as well as globally, because that's when transformation can take place.
You just hit on a really huge point. It's not even just from the perspective of the healer or the teacher or the author, or the coach. You also, as someone desiring to level up or needing help, you also have to show up authentically, and that's such a brilliant point. I have clients who, come to me in whatever capacity they're working with me with, and I'm sure you've experienced this as well, even with authors or different people, and they come and they're like, I really want to talk to you about my arthritis, and I look at their energy or I run them through our tech, and I'm like, arthritis, sugar, you've been depressed for 20 years. So people come and they're not willing to be vulnerable and to be real and to say, I don't know. Sometimes all of us feel like this. I haven't in a long time, knock on wood, but, I've had days where I'm like, honestly, I don't want to live anymore. So I respect when a client comes to me and says the most raw, the most real, the most dark, or the most joyful. It doesn't have to be. And if they're really successful and they want to level up, that's fine coming to me and saying, I have an amazing life and I'm living in joy and I just want to get to the next level. I mean, that's fine too. It doesn't always have to come from a dark place. But let's be real. Let's not come with false modesty, and let's not come with false brokenness either. Let's just come with who we are, where we're at. and that's a great place to start. I think that's brilliant. I kind of had never thought of it from that angle before until you just said that.
Well, it's so important, and what I've discovered, I've been on this path, I don't know, God, my daughter's 32, so I'd say I've been on my own personal journey for 25 years. I've been a spiritual entrepreneur since 92, even though back in 92 I didn't call it that because I wasn't as aware as I am now, but now I know that my work is my soul's mission. I'm here to serve. It just happens that I do it through my brands, and so that's my definition of a spiritual entrepreneur, and I'm sure everybody has a different one. But one of the things, Kimberly, that I notice across the board, and I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, from beginning entrepreneurs all the way to 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs, and one of the things I notice is until you heal the shame and guilt for the feelings that you have, or for this fear of being vulnerable, because that is a big fear for so many of us, whether we're in business or not. Until we heal that, it's really going to be hard for us to succeed in any area of our life, but especially for those who are in the personal and spiritual development fields, because people are tired of the fake masks, they're tired of all of it. But first, the healing has to come on a personal level, right? A woman can't be vulnerable with her coach, her friend, her sister, or anyone until she knows it's okay to be vulnerable and that she feels safe, right? So we have to heal our stories on a personal level first.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, and I've shared in one of the beautiful books you published, my journey about that. But I think what you just said is what was missing when I was super successful and first emerged, in the healing scene. I think it was that I hadn't been honest with myself or even completely with the people that were, being led and being taught by me and being healed by me. It's almost like, there is something to the broken healer, but there's also something to the healed healer, which is more powerful. It's interesting. We're never going to be, I don't believe, totally evolved or completely conscious, however you want to say it, or completely healed necessarily. But I believe we can have a high degree of balance in our lives and in our physical health and in our emotions and even in our spirituality. And it's so interesting. I did a class last night, and we were actually discussing and looking at the energy of different people because, one of my favorite sayings, and I know you know this, Linda, is that energy does not lie. And I've got to be honest with the audience. I've run Linda's energy. I've run the energy of her company. I've shared expressions of that with Linda too. And I would not work with someone whose energy was not in integrity. And so not only does, Linda say and share these things that she's sharing today, but Linda's energy matches it. But there are people in this realm and other realms, politics, as we know, entertainment, news, consciousness, you can name it, health, that you run the energy and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, this is really not matching up. And that's challenging. You're like, well, then what can I believe? We actually ran the energy of someone who happened to be a bodybuilder, nothing to do with this field, and one of his big things is, Linda, he says, no steroids, no steroids. You can do this, and you can do this, and you can look like mine, and you can, have a ripped body. But what we found out, because again, energy doesn't lie, and we have the technology now to answer any question about anyone, anytime, any place. Well, when looking at all the things physically and in different aspects, we found a picture of steroid use, which didn't surprise me because there's just a certain look you get from steroid use. But the point is, wow, like I wonder if it's thousands and thousands of people that are trying to get ripped like this young man know that maybe it's not possible. Maybe there's another way, but it's not possible the way this guy's saying it, because wouldn't he be doing it? So it's so important. I think there's more of a natural flow of abundance and success when you are being honest and authentic and real, and you're teaching what you know, and you're standing behind it. And if you don't know, you don't share, or you say, I don't know. And it's just a complete, and you're about this transparency.
Well, I think it's because I've had to learn it. I've lived on both sides, right? So, you don't know what you don't know, right? So like I said, I've been an entrepreneur since 92. I had another business for 11 years. I've had most of these businesses for 10 years, the ones that you know. And I was on the other side because the world wants you to be on that side. Put on the masks, play a role, show up as an actor in your own, actress in my case, in your own life. And it nearly cost me my life trying to do it the world's way. And it wasn't until I got on the spiritual path and discovered my own way, which is really, I think should be the world's way, which is authenticity and service and relationships. I had to create that for myself because it's what my soul needed. Does that make sense? And I want to talk more about that, Kimberly, when we come back from a commercial break. And we'll be back with Dr. Kimberly McGeorge of SecretToEverything.com.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Inspiration for a woman's soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book? or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth Radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Hey, America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America in your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Hi, you're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, and joining me today is Dr. Kimberly McGeorge of secrettoeverything.com, and we're talking about energy and frequency and authenticity and how all of it ties in to affect the quality of your life, right? Because isn't the quality of our life how we feel every day, what we're attracting? So let's talk about that too, Kimberly, because you and I both believe that we're always in a constant state of creation, right? And a constant state of creation means whether you're aware of it or not, you are consciously attracting to you what your energy is putting out to the world. So until you start becoming conscious of that, this is my belief system, you have to consciously work with your energy to make sure that what you're putting out in the world is what you want to attract back to you. And let's talk about that from how you teach it.
Right. I absolutely teach that. And the way I say it is I say you cannot, everyone's like, I'd like a 7-figure business and I'd like an amazing romantic relationship. And I'd love to be a great mom or great dad, those things that we desire. And, I look at their energy, and before we have the energetic conversation, I remind them, you can never attract a frequency that does not exist already in your field. In other words, in layman's terms, you cannot attract less than who you are being, thinking, doing, emoting, acting like at any time. It's impossible. You can't. So that can be really depressing when I first, run someone's aura or run them through check, and there's so much imbalance because I love what you said, because you said consciously creating. And whether we know it or not, we're either unconsciously creating or we're consciously creating. But once you kind of grasp the point that it's very powerful to be in conscious creation and to really be kind of running this sub-program of, is this in alignment with where I'd like to go or where I'd like to think or what I'd like to show up in my life, then we're going to reap, the opposite and the negative. But I think it's super exciting to know your imbalances and to be able to balance them. But you can only do that if you're aware, as you said, the word conscious, if you're aware of where you're not balanced. And so that's what we do. We come in and we're like, okay, let's look at the physical and let's tweak that. Let's look at the emotional and what's going on there. Let's look at the spiritual. Are your chakras open? Are they closed? Are they spinning in the right direction? What primary color? Are you integrated in your field? Are you being consistent who you are? A lot of us, and you said this too, Linda, are role-playing our way through life. We're living someone else's program, whether it's society's, a parent's, a friend's, a movie star's, someone else's idea of success, of freedom, of career, of relationship.
And it's so true, and I love what you said. You said about no matter what, we are attracting it to us whether we're conscious of it or not. And the most empowering moment of my life is when I realized I had the choice to decide. Because once you realize you have the choice to decide your thoughts and your energy, there's no more stepping into the victim role, right? You either choose to remain a victim or you choose, and believe me, I know what it's like to live in that energy because I lived in it probably the first 42 years of my life, and I'm 54. And the moment I realized I had a choice, even though at first, I'll be honest, Kimberly, I sure in the hell didn't want the choice. I'm like, no, I don't want to take on that responsibility. But then I made it a game. I made it fun. And I'm constantly tuned into my energy now to make sure I'm like, I call, the scale. Abraham Hicks put out there, I think it's 26 emotional levels. I am constantly tuned into making sure that I'm in the vibration that I want to create and birth in the world. But it took me many years to be able to do that. So I agree with what you said, that awareness is an empowering tool, because from there you can make the decisions to transform your life and really do the inner work to attract what it is you desire.
Yeah, I love that. The other thing I find with a lot of the people I work with is they're like, well, I'm going to be rich and famous. And I'm like, whoa, wait, what does rich mean to you? What does famous mean to you? Another universal principle that we kind of subconsciously know but don't actually act upon is you kind of have to know where you want to go to get there. And throwing away around these terms, like I want to have a successful business, like that is, there is a billion, probably trillions of ways to have a successful business. And you could look at my business, Linda, and you would be like, well, she works 18 hours a day. That's not successful. Or she works 1 hour a day, or she doesn't work at all, or she has 80 people. And so we run this through our perceptions of what successful is, and it doesn't really matter, because one thing I've learned that has been so freeing, and I'm trying to work with my children with this right now, is no one really cares. And I don't mean that in a nasty way. I mean, you are here to live your life and express your abilities and your talents, I believe, to bring light and love to the planet. Not everyone believes that. That's what I believe. But in doing that, you don't have to worry. Worrying about people you don't know, you don't need to worry about that.
And that's so true, because a lot of times we give our power away, worrying about and making decisions based on what so-and-so would do, or or comparing ourselves, whether it's work or business or our relationships. We're always doing this comparison thing. And when you can feel it, I'll speak my truth because I can't speak for everyone else. When I used to find myself many years ago in that feeling of comparison or feeling less than others, I knew I wasn't high on the emotion scale, because it didn't feel good. Does that make sense? It's like, why am I judging myself against someone else? And when I healed all that, everything shifted for me. Right now, I see others doing things, and I bless and go, wow, even if they're in the same field. And I'm a big supporter of everyone. I don't believe in the word competition. So now I can see someone and go, wow, that is freaking amazing that they created this beautiful whatever it may be. Because you can feel their truth in it, right? Isn't that what we all want, to birth our truth, to birth our brands, our whatever it may be? We want to bring our true self to it.
I love that. I love that you can feel their truth in it. I wish there were more businesses the world over, not just in consciousness, that you could say that about. I really do. I think there's a dilution of that, and I think that's why love-centered and light-centered businesses where we have found a level of authenticity, I think that's why they really, really proportionately, exponentially are so powerful, because there aren't a lot of them. And I just think you stick out and people are like, whoa, that's a different model and that's a different way of doing things. And you and I are just stubborn enough to kind of be able to go against the grain and go with what, feel the energy and what's good for our business and what's the next step. And, that's something that we teach too. I believe everybody has that power and that intuition and that ability, Linda, but sometimes we need to be reminded that we all have that inside of us, and that, seminars are great, and listening to radio shows and, telesummits and videos and all the things that we buy and we do in conferences, they're all awesome. But I believe we should take that as inspiration, kind of like what you were saying. Like, that's inspiring, that Linda Joy built her business that way. But does that mean that Kimberly McGeorge should go out and build that exact same business on that exact same model and use the exact same colors? Heck no, because I'm not you. And there doesn't necessarily need to be two of you or me. I think each of us were brought here for this specific time to do many specific purposes through our own being, naturally, joyfully, easily, and in flow. And I don't talk to a lot of people that have discovered that. You're one of the rare ones, Linda, to be honest.
Well, I got to say, I'm blessed then. I'm blessed because my whole inner circle, all the women that I play partner with, some of them are clients, some are just peers, my mastermind, we all live and believe and created our business this way. So I think what happened, Kimberly, and what you're seeing happening, I'm sure, in your own business is when I owned my truth and created my brands according to my heart, and the brands that you know are the ones since 2009 especially, what happened is, it's exactly what we're talking about today, energy. What happened is others who felt that same vibration and wanted to show up authentically in their business started coming to me, as friends, as peers, in some cases clients. And that circle expanded and expanded because only those who are feeling the vibe are going to be attracted to what I do or what anyone else does, right? Because it's, again, energy attracts energy. So believe it or not, there's even more than you can think of out there who are said, I'm taking off the mask, I'm just showing up, I don't care what anyone else is doing anymore, I'm being my truth and wisdom to whatever their business is. They're the ones that are really, I think, shifting. They're shifting how things are done, and that vibe is going out, and the circle keeps getting bigger, so it's beautiful to see.
And I have to share something really quick. I had my realtor stop by today just and stand in my hallway, and she was just talking. She said, how did you come to that moment where you kind of changed the course of your life? And I said, hold on a minute. You know what I'm going to say. And I went and grabbed, the Grace and Gratitude book. And I said, not only is there my story in here, but there's 30-some women in here, and I think this is really going to minister to you and kind of answer that question of how different women kind of came to that point where there's a big shift in their life. And she held that book in her hands, Linda. Seriously, she didn't even open it. She didn't read mine. She didn't look at the title. She starts bawling. Like, that's an energetic thing. When you can hold a book, you're authentic, like you said, women, like, that's magic. You talk about magic. I was like, I almost wanted to say, why the heck are you crying? But I understood the energy of it, so of course I didn't, because she felt it. She felt the love. She felt it. She's like, thank you. I mean, she just started bawling and saying thank you. And so I know from working with you, and my inner circle is like that too, but I'm getting to know some of the women that you know as well, because you work with them, and I do find them exactly like you're talking about. So
it's amazing. I'm so blessed, and it's so beautiful that you shared that with me, because prior to today's show, one of the other authors in Inspiration for Women's Soul, Opening to Gratitude and Grace, just shared with me this morning. She said, Linda, I have to tell you, she's been in multiple books with me. She said, I am getting emails nonstop of, oh, my God, thank you for sharing, and thank you, your story, but also thank you for giving me permission to know that what I'm feeling inside isn't crazy. All these women felt it too. And that's what my brands are about, is putting out projects like that give women permission to believe in the power of possibility. And we'll talk about that more in a moment. We'll be right back with Dr. Kimberly McGeorge of SecretToEverything.com.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
What if you could live the life of your dreams, the life that you came here to live? What if you were able to honor your gifts and passions, turn them into a heart-centered business, and make a big difference in the world, all while living authentically and doing the work you love? It is possible. Patricia Young, president and founder of InnerProsperityAcademy.com, knows that awakening to your own truth, aligning with your life purpose, and having your own business is one of the most exciting and courageous things you will ever do in your life. Patricia helps spiritual, sensitive, and growth-oriented women start, grow, or transition into a business they love so they can go from working for a paycheck to working for a mission. For supportive resources, programs, and more to help you do just that, visit InnerProsperityAcademy.com.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTR-FM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hi, you're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy. Welcome back. We're having a great conversation here. I am with Dr. Kimberly McGeorge of secrettoeverything.com, and we were just talking about energy and vibe and what we put out, whether it's a book, people feel the energy. It depends what your intention and energy is in that project, or it could be anything in your life. What type of energy are you putting into something? So right before the break, Kimberly, I was saying that she's been in multiple books with me, and she said, Linda, there's something sacred about this book, because this one closes out the Inspiration for a Woman's Soul trilogy. She goes, there's something so sacred about this. People are feeling this energy. And I said, yeah, it's love, right? Because really, I hold a container for a woman like you to show up, step into the container, and you guys birthed your soul stories, and it was written from such vulnerability, as you know, because we have our authentic storytelling model asks you to go deep. But see how that vulnerability and truth and authenticity was in your story? Multiply that by all the other stories, Kimberly, and that energy went out in the world and made such an impact.
It did, and I don't know if I watched a video or saw a picture, but one of the authors had shared that her husband was crying as he read through these stories, and that's just touching. Like you just don't know who's going to pick that up. And I teach this all the time, and I know you're well aware of this as well. But it's those tiny moments where the littlest things, whether it's a book or a movie or a touch or a song, can really turn someone around. It can birth something. It can stop something. It can start something. It can heal something. And so you just never know the full potential. But when you birth it in love, and it's holding that beautiful 528 frequency, and you birth it in authenticity, and it's real and it's tangible, I think it immediately starts its own energy. It's not corrupt. It's pure. It has a purity that'll just a light that will go far. And I've been actually surprised with, I have to tell you, with how fast and furious and bright, this whole project has been.
It's been, that's one of the greatest compliments I get. I've published, I think, 8 books so far. And then my authors, as you know, many of them signed with me for multiple projects. And they said to be part of a tribe, of a vibe, of an energy in a community that is determined to make an energetic imprint in the world, one of love, and in this case, gratitude. The other books were like, as you know, Choosing Happiness, and the other one was Cultivating Joy. Gratitude and Grace closes out that trilogy of sacred soul stories. And that's one of the greatest compliments I receive is when someone says, Linda, I could feel the love in this project. And that's another. Most people will say to someone they worked with, hey, I had great results. I feel really good. They speak a different language. What I hear over and over again is about love, about authenticity, about thank you for giving me permission to be me and show up authentically in a safe place. Isn't that what we all want? A permission to show up authentically?
I think that's why if you're from a good home, a warm home, a loving home, I think that's why home, the word home and having that sense of home holds such an appeal because of what you just said. It's that safe space, whether it's a place or whether it's a person or whether it's a family or whatever it is for you. I think that's what feels. I think just, and I think when people read that, knowing that we felt safe, like you said, they begin to feel safe to process and to possibly choose something different for their first time. Because if 30-some people can do that, they can do that too. And it's just such a beautiful thing. It just brings such hope and inspiration and motivation. So many energies really are wrapped up in a project. And I encourage everyone who has their own business, whether it's you own a flower shop or whether it is an online business, whether or not you're a coach or healer, but you can bring that energy to whatever you do. Even if you're in a 9-to-5 job in an office and you're a secretary or you're an attorney or a doctor, you can still bring those energies with you in whatever you do and in the expression of your soul. And I love that. I love that we're not restricted by that. We're not restricted by a job or by a role to be the full expression of those energies and to really, really touch people. I mean, you can touch people walking in a coffee shop as powerfully as you can touch people coming on a radio program or writing a book. Absolutely.
Oh, I believe that. I believe I believe we're responsible for the energy that we bring to every situation, right? So, and that comes down to learn, and I'm still learning this, to learn to be fully present, right? Because it comes down to what you said earlier, awareness, right? If you're not fully present in the moment, then you can't be aware to know how your energy is affecting whatever it is you're doing in that moment. And that took me a lot of years to go, okay, to learn, and I've really focused on it probably the last 8 years, is am I present in this moment? Or am I talking to this person, or am I writing this, web page, but my mind is elsewhere? So it's this learning how to constantly be present, so then when you are present, then you can vibrationally align with that moment. Does that make sense, the way I'm describing it? I just know what's in my heart.
No, absolutely, it makes sense. And I think I'm going to do a little addendum on the end, which would be to be present in the moment and be perfectly okay with whatever thoughts, emotions, feelings, energies that are swirling through you. So to be fully present isn't to shut down parts of ourselves. It isn't to deny or lock out what we perceive as negative or dark or troubled or, it's the allowance with the presence that I think is so powerful.
Like even in pain, right? Even to be fully present in pain.
That's good. I like that.
And for a long time, oh God, in my 20s and 30s, I would run like hell from any sign of discomfort or pain. And of course, what did I do? I stuffed it down just so and I wish I knew then what I know now, which is, oh honey, you stuffed down so much. Wait till it all comes up, and it did. But now I process. I go, oh, why am I getting this funny feeling? Is it grief? Is it, am I not honoring my body right now? And I tune in. And I'm still learning to do that, Kimberly. I'm still learning how to tune in to make sure I'm feeling everything as it comes up. Because I think, especially for women, and then add the title of entrepreneur, we are trying to balance so much that sometimes we tell ourselves, and this was my story, I don't have time to feel that right now. And like I said, 7 or 8 years ago, I said, you don't have time not to feel it right now. So it's what you said, process, don't judge, allow it to come, feel everything in the moment.
And we see all the time, because a lot of times people come to me and they're entering into the physical health or emotional health story. I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm in pain, I have cancer, I have arthritis, I have diabetes. And they're entering in through that door. And when we do start looking and, the associating frequencies that go with those diseases, we're finding a lot of what you're saying. You actually drive those emotions enter in your energetic field outside your body. When you don't stay with them and be very fully aware in allowance and let them process, they drive down into the physical body and deep into the tissues. And so, like you said, then we have arthritis and we have depression and we have, we have these multiple things. And we're like, why am I sick? And why am I depressed? And why am I anxious? And it's because I think maybe we're not taught that, or we, like you said, we didn't know that it's totally okay to be in pain. I mean, I have broken up, and it sounds so dumb to say, but I'm okay with it. I have broken up with someone as an adult and been so brokenhearted. Linda, I was sobbing so much I could not breathe, but that's okay.
Exactly. It's like about processing, and like you said, we're not taught it. We're not taught how to go that deep. And I had to learn it the hard way, like so many people do, is what's causing this illness in my body. And for many years, probably, especially I'd say probably from 15, I'd say even up to 35, but especially my teen years, I would suffer depression and anxiety. And like many of us do, but it wasn't until I started working with energy and thoughts and affirmations and beliefs, but especially my energy, that everything shifted. And thankfully, knock on wood, of course, I have ups and downs like we all do. I'm not talking about ups and downs. I'm talking about the depression I had back then. I haven't had that in close to 15 years, but it's by me being consciously aware and processing things as they come instead of doing what I used to do, which is not dealing with them until the energetic weight was so heavy that I had no choice but to deal with them because I was brought to my knees.
Mhm. That's awesome. Yeah, totally agree. Wow. Mhm.
We're going to take a few moments, and we will be back in a moment with Dr. Kimberly McGeorge of secrettoeverything.com.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Do you love, accept, and respect the woman you see in the mirror? You are a goddess. But do you treat yourself as one in every area of your life? Are you taking care of you? Or are you last on your to-do list, if you're on it at all? It's time to take off the superwoman cape and awaken your inner goddess. Psychologist and body love expert Mary Pritchard is passionately dedicated to empowering today's women to heal their relationships with food, their body, and themselves, along with reconnecting with their inner goddess, stepping through perceived fears, and embracing the truth of who they are. Visit drmarypritchard.com to learn more about Dr. Mary's Body Love Group program, private coaching, sacred goddess circles, and to schedule a complimentary chat. drmarypritchard.com.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Healing Light, on OMTimes Radio every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Healing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, and we're going to be talking in this last segment with Dr. Kimberly McGeorge more about energy, frequency, and how, Kim, I think I want to ask you a couple steps that they can put into action now in their life, something that they have access to now. Maybe it's a meditation, maybe it's a tip that you just feel intuitively led to share. I'd love to spend the last few moments really giving them some insights and ways they can work with their energy.
Yeah, I love that you said meditation, because interestingly enough, when we run scans, one of the things that comes up, and this is mind-blowing to me, that the body or the energy field or the soul asks for 5 minutes silence. a day. 5 minutes. What does that tell us? That tells us we're not even getting 1 minute of silence. So to me, it doesn't even have to be like, oh, go do yoga and twist yourself into a pretzel. It doesn't mean, pray for a million things. It doesn't mean like work on your vision board. Can you guys sit? I'm only asking. Body's only asking 5 minutes with nothing. Now, you can feel your emotions and be fully present, but turn the mind off. Turn the television off. Get your headphones out of your ears. Just sit and be fully present. Like literally the body requests that all the time. I have never seen or ran anyone, and I'll probably eventually come across someone that doesn't ask for that. And that just tells me that even if we're fully present, I think we still tend to run, Linda, and to do. And that's great because some of us need to do more of that and less of maybe doing nothing. But that's big. That's kind of a big discovery that we found is that, wow, people aren't getting that 5 minutes of breath and silence.
Well, think about it. With the internet, we're always connected between our phones and laptops and iPads. This isn't like 25, 30 years ago where even children, right? They would go outside, they would connect with nature. We're losing all of that. The generations now, like my grandson's generation, he's 16, they're so connected to that phone, sometimes they're sitting in the back seat with their friends. Instead of having a conversation, they're texting each other the conversation. And I say, are you kidding me? And I talk to all parents and other grandparents. They're like, Linda, remember when we used to have to go outside till the lights came on? And I said, yes, we're losing that, and that's what's happening. We're forgetting how to be, right? And when I say we, I mean us as human beings. We're forgetting. And just think of the word, right? We're called human beings, not human doings. And I think of that often going, no, we're supposed to make time to be. And I don't know about you, Kimberly, but that was also one of my hardest lessons, and especially the last 10 years, because I am an energetic person. I get up between 2 and 4 every day. I'm high energy. I love, and I love what I do, so it doesn't feel like work, but I had to create spaciousness in my life, and thankfully I've learned that. Now, do I go through cycles, like during a launch phase but I always know I'm going to balance it out. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. The other thing, and this is something I do personally, and I think I've told you this before, but talking about giving yourself permission, when we are mothers and we are career women and we are, whatever we are, I think giving yourself the permission to literally take a nap is so regenerating and so delicious. And I still feel guilty when I take a nap. But that's one way of kind of closing everything down and just going to another place. And I get up refreshed, and I can go till midnight or 1 or 2 in the morning after a nap. But it feels very scandalous. Our culture, there are some cultures, obviously, that stop and have these siesta. And everyone takes a nap, which I think sounds like a great plan. And I know some people don't need naps, and that's fine. But there's these behaviors that are kind of like closet behaviors. And I think they should be widely accepted and promoted behaviors where we shouldn't have to, guiltily admit, yeah, I take a nap sometimes. Naps, I love naps. I think they're very restorative.
Oh, I love in the middle of my day if I have at least a 30 to 45 minute window. I think you've seen pictures of where I live. I live in the middle of the woods on a beautiful spring-fed pond. A lot of times I will just walk outside and sit there just to be. And honestly, sometimes I go, I'm just going to close my eyes for a moment. And I don't know, it recenters me. And the funny part, I'm laughing because my honey I've been with him 21 years. He's always been a big advocate of 15 to 20-minute naps. Not every day because his schedule doesn't allow that. He's had a contracting business for 40 years. But guess what? He has always teased me because he's 11 years older than I am. And he's 60, I have to think of my age. He's 65. He looks 10 years younger than his age, and he has always joked, Kimberly, it's because I take time for naps as often as I can. So I'm like, shit, I better catch up on my nap so I can look that good when I'm 65. He swears by it. He says, Linda, I listen to my body.
I love that.
Yeah, 15, 20 minutes. He swears by it.
I love it. And if you want to get really delicious, I used to live in a neighborhood. I live in a bigger neighborhood, so I live on a little spring-fed pond too, but actually a little Maple Cobble Lake. But one of my favorite things to do in this neighborhood, and the only trees that would hold this were out by the road, was to take my nap in a hammock. So I would happen to get sleepy about 4, 5, 5:30 when everyone's coming home from work, and all my neighbors used to come up to me and be like, you drive us nuts. They're like, do you know what it feels like to be driving home from work and to see you laying by the road in your hammock? We want to knock that thing out. But that's kind of sad. I'm like, no, you guys, I don't know. There's just a lot of things. It goes back to the conscious decisions. Maybe that's their only choice, but some people don't even realize, Linda, that you can create a business out of your home or your own business, or you don't have to work for someone else. Like, you can design a life where you, too, can lay by the road in a hammock if you desire. But we're not, that possibility, that door doesn't even appear. It's not even about opening or walking through it. Some people don't even know that that's an option, Linda, and that always blows my mind because there's so many entrepreneurs today and so many people starting their own businesses, but yet there are still a lot of people that are like, how the heck can you do that? How the heck can you live in the middle of the woods and have this publishing business? Like, that's not possible, but it is. And
it is possible
in this society. Anything's possible, I believe.
Yeah, and again, it circles back to everything that we've been talking about in this inspired conversation, which is tap into your belief system, right? Tap into what you're telling yourself you can't have. Because, like you said, we can all be creating the life we desire, but it all starts with beliefs and where our energy is. And when you mentioned the hammock, we every few years we bring home a new hammock from Costa Rica, a big double one, and I'm looking down there now.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's between two trees, and that's his favorite place to take his nap is on that hammock. So every time I see him out there, I'm like, he just so deserves it. But why do we sometimes not give ourselves the things that bring us the most joy? And I wanted just to take a moment, too, to thank you for being here with me today, for sharing so much of yourself, for also being now an international best-selling author with your story in Inspiration for Woman's Soul, Opening to Gratitude and Grace, which I invite everyone to grab a copy. Kimberly's story is called A Choice of Grace, comes back to choice again. And I invite you to visit Kimberly at secrettoeverything.com. Kimberly, is there a last piece of wisdom you'd like to leave our listeners with before we close?
Oh, gosh. You talked about belief, and what I'd really like to share is, like, even if you don't know the way, we talked about a lot of different ways to approach life, but even if you don't know the way, one of my favorite quotes is, proceed as if success is inevitable. What does that mean? It means before anybody else invests in you, whether monetarily or time-wise, or hires you or marries you, or because that's an investment too, but you have to be behind you, and you have to be passionate about you and your life. And sometimes that's the beginning point, I call it standing firmly behind your choices and behind who you are. You are your own best friend. You have to really root for yourself, because there are times in your life, and we've all had them, where no one else is going to. So I really encourage people to shift for themselves and proceed as if your life is going to be amazing, because sometimes the path appears as you start walking into darkness, and literally it starts lighting up step by step by step. And if you are being that right frequency, like Linda said, you are going to start attracting your own tribe and people to assist you, and all kinds of amazing possibilities happen after that.
Well, thank you for leaving our listeners with that beautiful piece of wisdom. Everyone, I invite you to join me every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern for Inspired Conversations. And for even more inspiration, I invite you to claim your free subscription to aspiremag.net. the premier inspirational magazine for women since 2006. So run over there, claim your free subscription, and until the next show, love, choose joy, and choose happiness. Blessings, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.